Good morning and welcome to the HR TailorMade live series Conversations with Consultants. I'm your host, Dr. Tiffany Slater, and I am the CEO of HR TailorMade, the HR solution for small businesses. With these conversations, we hope to make it very clear that you, small business owner or founder, don't have to do all of the things and wear all of the hats in your organization. There are so many amazing entrepreneurs that are available to assist you, or I would say consultants that are available to assist you and get all of the things done in your organization so that it can free you up so that you can have time to do those things that you started your business to do, that is to serve your clients, to sell your goods, and to live in the space that makes you an expert. So let us do all of those other things that you are not an expert at so that you can get back to enjoying what it is you love doing. And today, I am super excited to introduce you all to my friend, Miss Joy M. Maxwell. And Joy is the owner of Ark Advising. And she's going to talk to us today about all things grant writing and the type of work that she does to support other businesses and nonprofit organizations. Welcome, Joy.
Thanks so much for having me, Dr. Tiffany.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And so I told them a little bit about you, that
Yeah.
you are the owner of Ark Advising. So why don't we start here? Who are you?
Yeah, so I am, like you said, the owner and lead advisor of ARK Advising. Started ARK Advising to be able to partner with nonprofit organizations specifically in their grant strategy. And the little blurb you gave about be an expert in what you're an expert about and let us do the other stuff is exactly what I share with nonprofits when I meet with them. Let us focus on the grant work. And so I kind of stumbled into grant work. Always like to help people, but didn't quite know how that would look. And so, I mean, it's a long story. I could take up the whole time of how I actually ended up here. But, the desire to help people from a little girl, and thought it would look like me being a pediatric neurosurgeon, but ultimately is like, you know what, I'm a nerd who likes to be behind the scenes, who likes to, do some writing, and grant work was just the perfect fit for me. So that's just a little bit about how I got to be where I am doing what I do.
Okay, well, thank you. And so as it relates to grant writing, what
Mhm.
exactly do you do? Do you just write grants? Do you find the grants? Do you manage the grants? What all goes into the ARC advising support?
Great question. So we tell people that, we're grant work from soup to nuts. And so I never really just say that I'm a grant writer. I know that's a really easy term for people, but that I don't think fully encapsulates everything that we do. And so there absolutely are some nonprofits who they're not even ready to start doing grant seeking because, their documentation is not in place. It's like, oh, we want grants, we want grants. But funders don't just give money to places that don't have their ducks in order. So it's like, okay, you need to work on certain documentation. So it could start off there, or it could be just finding grant opportunities for an organization and they apply themselves.
Mhm.
Or it could be, we find opportunities and we apply for them. And then lastly, it could be grant administration and management. And but one of the things I always kind of joke about is most nonprofits is like, no, we know how to spend the money, just help us get it.
Yeah.
So that is something that we can do and we have experience in, but it's usually more the grant research and the writing, but we can do, like I said, from soup to nuts.
Okay, that's awesome. And one of the things that has always been fascinating to me is the for-profit organizations that are able to
Mhm.
get grants. I know it's very rare, I would imagine,
Mhm.
but under what circumstances would a for-profit organization receive grant funds? I know that's probably a very difficult question to answer in a general sense.
So, it's a great question because I do have for-profits that approach me. And actually, the long-term goal is to be able to say yes to anyone who approaches us, who we want to work with. So that could be an individual looking for, let's say, college scholarships, because I remember that
Oh,
was such a huge part of my life
yeah.
back many, many moons ago. But, from there to for-profit to nonprofit. So there absolutely are for-profit grants out there. There are not nearly as many because 501c3s, when a corporation gives to a 501c3, it's a tax write-off for them.
Mhm.
And so if you give to a for-profit, it's not a tax write-off. And so I do believe that corporations and foundations want to do good, but they also want to help their tax liability. So there's
Yeah.
just simply not as many grants out there. Um, but actually, we've seen during the pandemic that there are more grants to for profits because corporations are trying to help small businesses specifically, and some minority led small businesses survive. And so there's absolutely more opportunities now because of that. Just again, trying to help people survive the pandemic, but it's not nearly as many, just I would say because of tax purposes.
Yeah.
But that's, I would say, how for profits find grants is, that someone's made a announcement about it. There's different, I think a lot of it is word of mouth.
Mhm.
Honestly, you're part of different email lists and things like that, or you're paying attention to the news, even in the nonprofit grant seeking. Sometimes you just have to be paying attention to what's going on. So that's how the for profit, but there's absolutely more grants out there for nonprofits and for profits.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, thank you for that. And
Mhm.
how have you ever helped a for-profit obtain a grant?
So, there was one organization I'm thinking of specific, actually business, um,
Okay.
thinking of specifically during the pandemic that we worked together on a grant application. And so they, were actually not awarded the
Okay.
grant,
Okay.
but we did work together on that opportunity. So again, it's not nearly as common for even Ark Advising to work with a for-profit, but it is something
Mhm.
we can do because
Yeah.
some of the questions are very similar, but
Okay.
it's not something that we focus on.
Gotcha. And so one of the things you said too is that any whatever organization is interested in finding grant funds, they need to have their ducks in a row. Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about that? Like, what are these organizations looking for?
Sure. So funders, I think in general, want to know that their money is going to be used for what you say it's going to be used
Mhm.
for. They want to, the very basic requirements that I see is that IRS letter of determination that you are a 501c3. So as I was saying before, most funders, they want to give to a charity because it
Mhm.
is a tax write-off. And sometimes it's even written in their bylaws and everything that they have to. So it's not just a matter of, oh, we want to, we have to. And so
Mhm.
that 501c3 process with the IRS is, ducks in the row number, or duck number one in the row. And they give you this letter, and it takes time to actually acquire that letter. But once you have received that letter, it's like gold. Sorry.
That's okay.
Um, it's gold, and I always tell people it's this nondescript letter, but it's gold though,
Mhm.
to be able to share with with funders. So there's that duck number one. Duck number two would be, why do you exist? The basic W questions: the who, what, why, where, how. So the population that you want to serve. Why do you know that they need assistance? How do you know that you're the one to provide that assistance that they need? And so building out a needs statement or a case statement, which again is just answering the W questions.
Mhm.
But then also being able to communicate to a funder what their money will do. So if you're asking them for $5,000 or $50,000 or $5 million, what are you going to do with that money? And so you could have a very compelling case statement or need statement. But if you can't say, okay, this is exactly what the money will do, then it's probably not going to be favorable for you, because
Mhm.
most funders are made up of business people. And so I always tell people, funders, you might think of this nebulous funders, but they're actually people who make those decisions. And most of the time, I found they're business people who are successful in business. And so they want to see, yes, you've touched their heartstrings, but also you know how to use money. You know how to almost like multiply their money, because they're used to increasing and multiplying in their business. And so having that documentation is in place as far as like organizational budget, a project budget, being able to show, this is the money that we've had in the past and this is how we've spent it, which, can get really complicated. The bigger that you get, there's more sophisticated documentation. But even as a very new nonprofit, just keeping track of everything.
Mhm.
So that's really what funders are looking for, is like, yeah, tell the story, but also show that you're financially sound,
Mhm.
and that you would be a good partner for us.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, Joy,
Yeah.
I don't know that I asked you this question. How did you get started with starting your business?
Ooh, you don't have enough time for this. So it being a small business owner was not part of the plan at all.
Mhm.
Like I told you, I like to help people, but I always thought that I would be working for someone else.
Mhm.
Never desired to step out and do more um, on my own. And actually remember a very distinct conversation that I had with one of my siblings, where they're like, yeah, I never want to work for anyone. And I'm like, nah, I don't care. Um, but I can tell you exactly where I was, exactly what I was doing when I felt like, honestly, God gave me the assignment
Yes.
to start a business. And I can, see the connection of the dots, even though I was very hesitant. I was like, I see the connection of the dots. But I was terrified. And
Mhm.
it took me about 4.5 years to actually step out, because, working for someone else is very comfortable, and having the benefits, and you get a paycheck, or in my case, it was twice a month. But I was very scared. And then in 2019, there's some life that happened that really got me to decide, I'd rather try and fail than not try at all and make it to my deathbed, essentially. Like, what if I would have tried? And
Mhm.
so it was still scary. Um, to actually, send that resignation letter. um, but that's how it all came to be. And so I left that job in September 2019 and started Ark Advising November 1st. So we're about to celebrate our 2-year anniversary. The 1st of November. So yeah, that's how it came to be. And I will tell you, my only regret is that I didn't do it sooner.
Yes.
I have been so happy here, getting to work with so many nonprofits. The nonprofit that I worked with is actually still a partner today, but just obviously in a different way. But I get to work with so many great nonprofits. And I was like, man, I just wish that I would have done this sooner.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how it happened.
That's awesome. Well, and so many of us entrepreneurs start because we felt a calling, and I think what makes us unique and special is that we answered the call,
Mm-hmm.
and we stepped out on faith,
Yeah.
and we were trusting that God would absolutely live up to his promises. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
that is that why you named your business Ark Advising?
Yeah, so great question. So, it actually, the Ark and Ark Advising is a nod to Noah's Ark in the Bible.
Mhm.
And what I tell people is, when I was a kid, and I feel like a lot of people learn, Noah, he saved the animals that came in 2 by 2 and all this other stuff. And number one, that's very simplistic. That's not actually how it went down, but that's what we learn as a kid.
Yeah.
Um, but as an adult, I remember being struck by the fact that Noah didn't just save the animals, he saved his entire family with that
Mhm.
structure that he built. And so the desire for ARC Advising is to come alongside nonprofits that are offering that same structure to individuals and families and communities that, if they take advantage of it, could very well save their lives
Mm.
and save their destiny, the trajectory that people want for their lives. And so, yes, that is absolutely where the ARC comes from. But again, not the simplistic two by two, which is not even fully true. But that was where the ARC part and the advising part comes from. Um, I had seen a news, not a newsletter, a website that said was comparing consultants and advisors, and it gave this impression that advisors are more long term, so
Mm.
they're more committed to the organization. It's not come into a project. Hopefully it's years upon years. And so
Yeah.
our desire is to come alongside nonprofits as they come alongside families,
Mhm.
possibly for years and decades, because that's what it takes. I know
Yeah.
even in my own life of, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and I can look and see how from a little girl, even to now as an entrepreneur, there are people that walk alongside me long term. And
Yeah.
so, it's the AA, it sounds really good, but it's very intentional what our name is.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Joy, I would imagine that you find that there are organizations that need you, much like
Mhm,
HR person or HR consultant, but they assume that they cannot afford you or
mhm.
they can't afford the services of a grant writing organization. What our grant advising organization, I'll say it that way. What can you say to people like that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I lean right into that, and I'm telling, especially the smaller nonprofits, of like,
Mhm.
you're very hand to mouth. It's like, no, you probably can't afford what my hourly rate is,
Mhm.
but I've created these packages that allow you to be able, test the waters. What would it be like to work with an experienced grant professional,
Mhm.
but not make this year-long commitment, which I would love,
Yeah.
but just testing the waters. And so we have packages that range from just a couple $100 into packages that are a couple
Yeah.
$1,000. And so, either way, it is a financial commitment.
Mhm.
But again, we try to make it as accessible as possible to
Yeah.
start that
Okay.
relationship. So,
So if you don't mind, can you tell us about your lowest package and your highest package? Tell us what
sure.
the difference is so that people, because I think it's really important for people to understand
Mhm.
it's doable on some level. You might not
Right.
get everything that you want, but you can have some of the pie. And
Yeah, yeah,
then,
yeah.
even your highest may be surprising to people in a good way.
Yeah, so the lowest package, and I'm not sure which one exactly. I don't know. It's the grant research only. So it's literally tell me what types of grants you're looking for. So
Okay.
is it general operating where you need unrestricted money just to keep things going, or do you need capital? Let's say you've got a building project, a renovation, or things like that,
Mhm.
or is it a specific project or program that you're doing?
Mhm.
So that's the basic categories, and then we discuss, okay, what is your nonprofit actually doing?
Mhm.
Is it education related or health services or whatever? And then I go to work using my databases to find grant opportunities that would be a fit, or that I believe would be a fit. And so that would be um, funders that accept unsolicited grant applications, because there are absolutely funders out there is like, no, don't send us materials, we know who we want to give to. So of course we're looking for unsolicited grant opportunities,
Mhm.
and then we again make sure that they're a fit for those other things that they're trying to do. And so that package, it's up to, or it is 6 grant opportunities
Mhm.
that would be a fit for you and your organization. Um, And that would be, and I'm actually pulling it up. I should have pulled this up before to have the exact cost, because I'm scrolling. Sorry.
That's
I don't want to say anything incorrectly,
And
man.
you don't have to give just a ballpark, and
Yeah, yeah.
it would be approximately.
So that one starts at approximately $300.
Okay.
So between $300 and $500 for that
Yeah.
one.
For 6
Um,
grant opportunities based off
correct.
of the criteria that they supply you with.
Yes. And I
Okay.
will say, one of the things that I've learned as an entrepreneur is like, not winging it. It's like, Joy, if you don't remember,
Mhm,
especially when it comes to money, because people remember, oh no, you said this. So that's why I was like,
mhm,
oh no, I like to pull it up. But
mhm.
yes, it starts at $300 to $500.
Okay.
So that is the most, that is the basic package. And
Mhm,
I will say the one up from that, which I want to mention, is grant consultation or strategic consultation. So that
mhm,
is literally where you pay for my time. And so
mhm,
we talk about those things, we were saying of actually getting ready for grant opportunities. So grant research would not be where you need to be because you're not ready for that.
mhm,
And so that's a minimum of 5 hours at my hourly rate.
mhm.
So that is, a close second. But that again is something we like to offer. If you just want to talk through preparing for going for after grants. So then the most expensive package is we contract for 4 grant opportunities that have no financial limit per grant.
Mhm,
We do focus on foundation and corporation grants, so we don't do federal grants at this time. But there's still some pretty significant foundation and corporation grants out
mhm,
there. Um, and so we lock in for 4 grant opportunities. It is my responsibility to find those grant opportunities. And then once you approve as a nonprofit going for those, I, pull all of the information that I need from you. Put everything together in the funder's requirements, which is huge.
yeah,
Some funders are very specific about their requirements. And if you don't send it to them exactly as they ask for it, you will get immediately tossed out of the running. And then we submit it. And so we do that 4 times. And so that package ranges between $3,500 and
okay,
$5,600. Um, so that's um, again the smallest package and then the
mhm.
largest package.
That's awesome. And
Yeah,
then you also will manage the grant too, right? Which is
sure. If
obviously
if they
separate.
want that, we absolutely can do that as a separate fee
Yeah,
if they want that. But like I was saying before, most nonprofits, it's like, no, we can spend the money just fine. We just
yeah,
need help getting it. Now, sometimes they might want help with a grant report,
yes.
which
And
again might just be
that's what I think of when I say managing the grant,
yeah,
is the
yeah. And so
reporting.
that can, what that looks like varies
Yeah.
absolutely. From maybe it's an email just saying, hey, with this money we did this, and then others like, no, it's pages upon pages. So yes, that can be something that they ask for, and that is something that we can do as well.
Okay. Joy, why should people
Mhm.
contact you? This was a great conversation, and
Yay,
I
I'm glad.
think that
Yeah, thank
yeah,
you so much for having me.
absolutely.
I want people to contact me because number one, just the conversation we just had, it having a professional in your corner as you do grant seeking is more accessible than you think. Is there a financial commitment? Absolutely. But I absolutely run into people who are like, they believe it costs way more than they think it does. And go back to what you said at the beginning, you be an expert about what you're an expert about, and let us be an expert in what we're an expert about. These funders, great, well-meaning and things like that, but also it can be a lot to navigate because each funder can do almost whatever they want with their money. They can release any deadlines that they want, all these different things. And so being able to provide the programs and services to your community that you want to provide, and also being on top of that is really challenging, especially for these smaller nonprofits. And so grant work is all that we do. I know from personal experience how hard it can be to navigate. The again providing programs and services and doing grant work, and so we really want to take that stress off of you, so that you can actually provide services to the community, and hopefully even more services, because funding is just constantly coming in. And then I would say the last thing is, us, what differentiates is that desire to really be a partner, that makes your load easier. And even I tell people, my name really is Joy, and so if you ever have an actual meeting with me, excuse me, I am liable to do something very joy-ish, to laugh and to have fun. We're absolutely going to get the work done, but we're going to have fun, because I understand nonprofit work can be so hard. You see sometimes the ugliness of human nature, and so who wants to do that and then come on a meeting with someone who's just blah or frustrating? And so really try to make the work fun, while also getting the work done. And so we'd love to connect with you, person out there watching this. And so we do offer a free 30-minute consultation, a Zoom meeting, so we can talk and see, and really just hearing your story. Because I always tell people, one of my degrees is in social work, and so I just love hearing people's stories, as well as, if we get to work together, great. But if not, again, just that hearing your story and your heart and what you're doing for the community is amazing too.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joy
Yay, thank
Maxwell
you.
of Ark Advising. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed having a conversation with you, and you are welcome back anytime. So
Oh,
thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
So, thank you all so much for joining Joy and I this morning to listen to us talk about grant writing and small businesses with grant writing opportunities, or opportunities to receive grant funds, and then nonprofit organizations working with Joy Maxwell at Ark Advising to obtain some support with grant funding. I think that you guys should reach out to her so that you can take advantage of her wonderful services, and the fact that her name is Joy. You should call her, certainly, because I'm sure that your services, or her services, are needed by your business. So thank you. So as always, I am Dr. Tiffany Slater of HR TailorMade, the HR solution for small businesses. So be sure to go to our website and sign up for the newsletter. Tell us what you want to know more about. Tell us who you want to talk to, because this show is for you. And until next time, be kind to yourself. And thank you so much for joining us.